Thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. If you've been following my series for articulated, movable, collage, art paper dolls, I just wanted to add something fun and interesting to that. I had an idea for making an articulated owl to put in my art journal, and this is what I'm going to show you how to make today is this owl. So stay tuned and I'll show you how I did it. There will be a link in the description box below for the digital download kit for making this articulated owl project. The first step is going to be to print out your images onto good paper. You can use white cardstock, but I also like to take a mixed media paper, a 90-pound weight, and cut it 8.5 by 11 and put it into my printer, because then I'm working on really good paper for when I'm coloring my images. So the second step is going to be to color. So you can color this with any medium you want. You could use colored pencils or Neocolor 2, Arteza brush pens, or Tombow markers. Anything that you have, anything that you want to use to color your images. So you're going to color them and then you're going to cut them out, but you don't want to cut them out fussy cut. You want to do, you want to cut them and leave a little bit of a space, because what we're going to do is to adhere them to a piece of lightweight cardboard, recycled cardboard, to make it sturdy and stiff and have a good connection between the paper and the cardboard. If you just use glue on the back, like if you just, put glue around the image and glue it down, your edges are going to come up and it's not going to be as nice and a tight seal as it is to use matte gel medium. So I'll show you that when I get to that step. Next I'm going to color and then we'll move on. I included a plain owl that isn't Zentangled in case you want to use this owl instead. You could use this as a template. You could cut out the body shape and cut it out of really cool pattern paper. You could paint it, you could detail it and make it look realistic. You could put something fancy right up here in the top part of his head. So I thought having a blank one would be good, and then I've got my decorative owl with the mandala. So you can choose whichever one that you want to play with. Today I'm going to use Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pens and some colored pencils to color my image. My ideas and how I'm doing it is just inspirational, just to show you what I'm doing with mine, but be creative, step outside the box, and do something fun and different with yours. I have my images colored and I've trimmed them out, but leaving a space around them so that I can trim them once when they're on the cardboard that I'm going to apply them to. I'm using a piece of scrap piece of poster board. You could use any kind of thin cardboard. Kleenex boxes, recycled, and things like that work really well too. I'm using matte gel medium. And I've had this question of why matte gel medium, why not just glue them down? But as I stated before, if you just glue them down, you don't get a good tight seal to the cardboard. And what I like to do is flip them over. I put the matte medium on the back side of the paper and then onto the cardboard and then put it down, and you're going to get a really, really nice smooth seal without them wrinkling. Just like that. So I'm going to apply them all to my cardboard just in that manner and then let it dry. Here are all the parts, and they are glued down to the cardboard nice and smooth with matte gel medium, and they're dry, so everything is ready to go. And now you just take your scissors and you fussy cut everything out. So with it being glued down to the cardboard and using matte medium and then making your cut just once instead of cutting out the image, gluing it down, cutting the image again, you're going to get this really nice, perfect image, paper to cardboard, and it really becomes one piece. So I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut out all these little parts. And there's one little spot on the owl underneath that I like to cut out with an X-Acto knife and a mat, because you want the tail that's going to be behind it to show. So I'm just going to take my X-Acto and cut out that little section. Now you can see behind it, and the tail is going to be right here behind the branch and behind that little spot so it'll show. Next I'm going to take a distress tool and some Ranger archival ink, and I'm going to go around all the edges, because as you've seen in my past videos, I like to get rid of that white cardboard edge, and so it's just nice to put some ink around and it looks so much better and more finished. So I'm going to do all of the pieces around all the edges with my distress tool. Next step, I'm going to take my crocodile on the smallest hole setting for the tiniest hole, and where the wing is marked, I'm going to punch out those 2 holes. And I'm going to do that on both wings. To find the right location for the hole on the body, I didn't mark it on the pattern, and the reason for that is I think it's better to put it into place, put your wings in place, and find where they look best. And then what you're going to want to do is to flip this over, and on that bottom hole I'm using a paper piercer to just lightly mark where I'm going to want to put the hole in the body. So that gives a perfect spot for where it's going to go. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Put the wing in place where I want it to be and where it looks best. I think on this one I might go a touch higher. And turn it over. Make sure it's not too close to the edge, because you want it, the hole that you punch, to be nice and secure. So I'm going to move it in just slightly and mark it. And now I'm going to punch my holes on the back, from the back side, so that I can see where I'm punching. And that way I'll have a perfect lineup for where those wings will go on my bird. To attach my wings, I'm using some lime green colored brads. They're not the micro minis, but they're kind of small. But you could use any size brad for this. And you go through the front of the owl and through the bottom hole of the wing, and then you bend it open. And you want to bend it open, and you don't want to press it down tight. You want it to be so that your wing is movable. So I'll do the same thing over here. Go through the front of the owl, the bottom hole of the wing, and then open the brad and leave some space. And now you've got your wings attached. It's getting cute. I've cut 2 pieces of embroidery floss 12 inches long. It gives you extra because you need room for tying knots and things and maneuvering, and then you trim the excess. So you're going to flip your owl over, and you're going to take your embroidery floss and go put it through the hole in the wing. And I'm going to tie a double knot, because you don't want it to come undone. Okay, there's one, and now I'm going to do the other. So we're attaching a string, 1 string on each top hole. And you want to tie your knots to the inside part of the wing, not to the outside. So your knots go inside down here. And then you can trim off the little tails that they make. As long as you've double knotted it, you could trim those little tails. Okay, now what you want to do is put your wings all the way down to the sides of the body, and you want to take these together, gather them together right here, and tie a knot. So I've fed my little tails down through the hole, and if you put something where you want it to be for the knot, where you want it to stay, and then pull it tight, it'll pull your knot tight and leaving it right where you want it. So now I've got my knot in between the 2 strings, and now the 2 strings are together. Now I've cut a piece of a drinking straw about 2 inches long, and I'm just going to press it kind of flat. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but just to kind of make a little crease in it. And I'm going to feed those 2 tails down through the straw, like that. So now you have your piece of straw on your strings. Now I'm going to take my art glitter glue, and I'm going to glue this straw into place in the center of the body. I want to leave room here for where the tail is going to be. So it can be down here, but not all the way down. You've got to leave a little room for where that tail goes into place. And I'm going to stick my straw into the glue. And then I'm going to put a piece of packing tape over it. Let's move these wings out of the way. And I'm going to go like this with some packing tape and kind of push down the straw a little to flatten it somewhat. You don't want it perfectly flat, but you don't want it round so it sticks up off your scrapbook page too much. But I think if it's down too tight, then it's going to impede your movement. So, okay. So there's my straw into place with some glue and some tape. And try to get it as straight as possible. Now I'm going to take my tail pieces, my 2 pieces of tail, and I'm going to glue them together. I'm going to put them right here into place where you would want that tail to come. And you want it to be right in the curve of where the owl body is. So where that's going to be, I want to lay these strings with the wings down. You have to put the wings down before you glue it into place. So you put your wings down and you put the strings over the tail, and you're going to glue these pieces together, and you're gluing the strings between the 2 pieces of cardboard. So be sure you put some in the middle really good, and then I'm going to put it all over this piece. And then I'm going to press those 2 pieces of tail together with the string in between. And I'm going to use my clips. These are just clips from the dollar store. I'm going to use my clips to clip it into place so it really holds those pieces together until they seal and dry. So I'm going to triple clamp it here. I'm going to do one up there too. There. Clamp that all together, and I'm going to let that dry. And then when you remove your clips, you want to flip this over to the front and see if there's any edges that need to be trimmed. Because when you're meeting up those 2 pieces of cardboard, sometimes you come up with an edge that might need just touching up a little bit. So I'm going to trim that edge. And then I'm also going to trim off my strings at the bottom. So now there's no strings. And now I'm going to flip it back to the way it was and turn it over. And this is what we've got. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I love him. He's so cute. Owl sitting on the branch. He's got his nice pretty wings, his cute movable tail. And when this is going to be down on an art journal page and you pull the tail, look what happens. His wings move. So let's get him put into place so we can really see how he works. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I love it. Hope you guys are loving this too. This is the art journal I'm working in, and I decided that I want to add this owl right here to this spot. And I'm going to have to trim that branch off and this branch, which I figured would happen. I think I want him here. Do I want him here? Yeah, I do. Okay, so what I want to do for gluing him down, his wing needs to be on top here. I'm going to glue down this branch underneath only to where the tail starts. Just this part of the branch is going to get glued down right here. And the same on this side. This branch is going to get glued down under his foot to here. So just like that, because you want that tail to be movable. So I'm going to just glue those two pieces. So I'll flip it over and put my glue just up to that tail. As if you glue down where the parts move or where they have to go in and out, then you're not going to be able to move your owl. So I'm going to press that down and use my clamps again. To really hold that into place. And then the only other place that you're going to glue is behind his head. So I'm just going to reach under here and put some glue and glue him down on top. And you can set something heavy on it, let it dry. But those are the only places that you can glue, are the top of the head and the branches. The rest of it's just going to stay put. It's not going to move because you've got this anchoring it and this, and then it leaves everything else movable. So we're going to let that dry. Okay, I removed my clips and now I'm going to just trim this branch off and discard that. If I had a bigger art journal page to put it on, I wouldn't need to do that, but and I'm going to trim that end too. So here is my owl. Is he cute or what? Make sure he's got lots of room to move his little tail. And when you pull on his tail, boop! Oh my God, it's so cute. I love it so much. Push the tail back up. And if it were standing up, they would fall into place. But look at how cute that is. Boop. My flying owl. I just love it so much, I can't even tell you. Oh my God, it's so cute. Okay, and with the leaves, I colored the branches and leaves. I'm going to go ahead and glue those down onto the page. And for those branches and leaves, I did some of them on cardstock, on cardboard, and some of them just on paper. So when you glue them together, they look three-dimensional. And I can add a little pen work to connect that leaf. I didn't get it close enough when it dried. But as you can see, it makes those leaves look like they are on top of each other. These are flat and this is raised on cardboard, and so it gives it a three-dimensional look. Then there's also another little trick you can do with leaves. So if you take a paintbrush and you put it behind your leaf and you shape it round like this, kind of make a shape out of it like that, and then go into the tip part and come back, and the same at the end. So the ends up and the middle down, so you end up with kind of like this design. When you glue it down, you can put glue just on those raised parts on the back, and when you glue it into place, you find a place where it fits well. It's coming off the page and has dimension to it. So I'm going to do a couple of those to put down here and finish this page off. So you just want to be careful and be sure that wherever you put those little bent leaves, that it's not behind where the wing would move out, because that would impede the wing and you don't want to impede the tail. So I put the little bent ones down here. And look at how realistic that looks. I love it. It's so cute. It makes such a cute art journal page. And now I'm just going to take things like, I'm going to take some Posca pen and I'm going to come in here and add some details to my mandala. Little white dots. I'm going to fancy up this mandala. Like that. Add some dots. I'm going to use some glossy accents. I may do glossy accents over the eyes or over some of these elements. Maybe some Nouveau drops. So I'm going to come back and jazz up my owl a little bit more, and then I'll show you the final piece. I added some Nouveau drops and some glossy accents to the mandala, so there's some really pretty accents to those. I used some Arteza, the fine point paint pens that are new. They've got very vibrant colors, so I added some bright pink to it just to make it pop a little bit. And then I did some doodling in the background, in the sky, and then put the word. And then when you pull his little tail, it says who underneath his wing too. So I love this. I hope you enjoyed it. It was super fun to create it and super fun to make it. It's not hard at all. It's very easy and fun. There will be a link to the playlist for how I make my articulated paper dolls for the whole series, and I'll include this one in that playlist. I'll also have a list of supplies that I used along with the link to where you can purchase this digital stamp. So go make some art, because art soothes the heart.